I am CouchCube and a very warm welcome to Still Holds Up. This week we are looking at the delectable XCOM 2. We put the vote out. Thank you very much for the engagement. This came out on top and what an incredible series. XCOM 1 came out in 2012 and we're looking at this 2016 edition on the PlayStation 4 Pro again, which is interesting because its performance is top notch throughout this entire video.
Excitement continues to build as city centers across the globe prepare for the 20th anniversary of Unification Day.
What is the XCOM series all about? Well, XCOM 1 was one of the games that I noticed as being an extremely strong turn-based military tactics shooter. It was also set in the sci-fi universe, and it was also the first game to promote ownership on troop, meaning that if you lost someone, there was permadeath. It was all about investment in your squad, and things got very tragic if it went wrong.
Peacekeeping forces have already made several preemptive arrests of known collaborators. Advent again assures all citizens that today's celebrations will continue as planned.
The plot continues a lot further down the line with the first game, and you're introduced to this sort of authoritarian world where there's a deal being done with the aliens. Not everything is as it seems, and there's this like a fascist, almost Killzone like enemy types, and there's their own language. It's quite deep, but you walk into this thinking, wow, this is definitely AAA. And at the time it was a mind-blowing sequel because they hadn't moved around with any of those major pillars that made XCOM 1 so famous. These intro scenes and sort of story snippets really surprised me. There's even like a Starship Troopers vibe with it being in like a news bulletin format, and it still looks very good. I'm seeing nice smooth frame rates, even HDR, and just crispness everywhere. Quality was one of the predominant aspects of XCOM 2, and its UI and systems were very easy to use in the original, and they've only been built on and sort of developed more with this excellent follow-up. One of the aspects or pillars not mentioned earlier is that the game has a day system, i.e. you have to progress through time to level up and get everything working and research, and during that fast forward-ish period you can have all manner of shit kick off on the map. So there's this tiny bit of RTS in there positioning the Avenger over some vulnerable city that's under attack or some sort of supply crate that you're trying to research. We'll look at that in a bit more detail in a sec because it certainly injects a lot of strategy into the game on a sort of higher level than this everyday turn-based combat we see. So the XCOM series coined this real-time turn-based system with the controls and showing you what your character can do, how far they can go, action points, how they sort of bleed out into using weapons. Some things cost more than others, taking health. There's a lot of stages. And there's a lot of complication on where you put your character, Overwatch situations. All of it is duplicated in everyday turn-based games. Look at Gears Tactics. Retro fans among you will know of a game called UFO Enemy Unknown, which is strangely close to a primitive version of this control scheme. I haven't looked into it. Maybe some of the developers have links to XCOM, but it could really be the root of all of this. And it's a huge gaming genre now. I'm into stuff like Gladius, or even Space Hulk Tactics. Is everywhere.
Vital stabilizing. Procedure complete.
We're also seeing loads of cinematic cutscenes, both in-game and between missions. I love the idea of the camera getting really dramatic, getting behind the player, showing you a cool animation of the moveset that you've implemented. This also goes for the enemies, giving it loads of dramatic surprise. When they move into your Overwatch cone, there's slowdown, there's awesome soundtracks. It's also very detailed on the enemy and enemy designs that you're fighting, like ridiculously. The classes and hideous creatures that you fight, you've got generals, hierarchies, all manner of different stages of which to take down these huge levels in, which also have multiple objectives sometimes, but everything is pretty sandboxed with the way that you approach these things.
Good copy. Moving on target. Moving to Overwatch.
That is one of the first things that you'll clock with the game, is it kind of pushes to replay and do it properly without half your people dying or alerting most of the map. It really wants you to take another run and sort of get your head around being as efficient as possible. And you get that feeling as well, particularly if you lose a key member of your team. You're like, no way, that's not happening. It is, however, really cheeky with the autosave, and it was one of the first games that sort of pushed me into having to make proper decisions that I couldn't step away from once committed. You will not be able to sort of meddle around with mid-level tactics because stuff is locked and you'll just be having to go right the way through again, or remembering to save constantly. You'll learn the hard way with that. The game also doesn't dwell on the enemy player's move turn or sort of what you have to watch between your turns for too long. I played a game called Chaos Gate, which was a Warhammer turn-based, quite recent, and this stuff took ages. Animations were sloppy, stuff just had loads of delays on it. You'll get super annoyed if you have to wait too long to watch how the level unfolds. It is also on normal difficulty, and it is so friggin' hard. It is relentlessly heartless, this game's difficulty. It will just wipe you out, and it's your own fault for not reading the situation correctly. It's merciless, and it's a real wake-up call. I think especially for people who may not know the series or aren't aware of how difficult games used to be back in 2016. That brings me on to the Genius sort of upgrade and promotion system, and we spoke about it earlier with what you can do back at base, the sort of strategy elements to it. You are clearing out this big hole and putting in laboratories and research areas to help speed things up, even staff quarters. So there's this brilliant behind the lines, or behind the scenes almost, development and war going on with your own staff. The weapons in this game are incredible, and one of the angles is you pick up artifacts that are left on the battlefield, bring them back, research them, and come out with some badass weaponry. This also goes down to the armor and the look of the whole character set.
Serving as our demolitions experts, the Grenadiers provide heavy ordnance delivery whenever and wherever we need it.
Depending on how long a player or character or soldier survives, the more their XP goes up, and you can promote them basically to a class type. There's assassins, there's heavy weapons guys, as you saw, standard shotgun bearers with close quarters, knives and huge swords that can be implemented all in different ways and have individual strengths on the battlefield. It's very deep. It's like a branch off system, a little bit like Darkest Dungeon. I just had a Mitch McConnell moment there. I was away for about 20 minutes. I sat here trying to remember the name of that game. I could even see the title screen of it. Couldn't remember. I had to go to my own Steam library just now. There's also a sequel out. Michael, can you believe I forgot the name of Darkest Dungeon? Christ, I'm getting old. Point being, it's got this like recruitment system where you bring in the sort of young'uns to get XP'd and ranked up, and then you have this like top tier of cream, amazing soldiers that you sometimes cherry pick to take out to a battle, but if you're really going for it, you take them all. But that's when you start biting your nails, because you'll make a mistake, you won't pay attention to a situation, and a key member will die. And you've got two choices: start that whole goddamn save again, or just grit your teeth and keep going, and have a little cry when you get in bed that night. Look at these awesome levels. The game has a sort of Super Earth vibe for me. I love the cyberpunk cars. Everything is really worth looking at. The only stab in the heart is that you can't rotate the camera. It would be really good if you could do it smooth. You can on the directional buttons, fixed angles, so you can look at something that's skewed or out of view, but there's no real free rock around. That would be amazing. Maybe, and we will get to this subject in a second, we might see more from the XCOM series. Also doesn't allow you a zoom in on the roller. That would be lovely as well, to have that when you're looking at these outside areas to go in on detail. Now I want to talk about its atmospherics and some of the situations it puts you in with that campaign, because it's not just normal soldiers you're dealing with. Some of them can be zombified, and some of them can turn on. You can own team member can end up pointing a gun right at your head, and it will ruin the front line of your troop setup. You have to deal with it immediately. So there's a lot of hierarchy with urgency and certain situations that come your way, and there's some terrifying mini boss like stuff just pops up randomly. You cannot predict when and what is going to happen to you a lot of the time. I've actually got straight back into this on a big scale because when I last played it, I didn't have that many turn-based tactical warfare combat games under my belt, and now I sort of approach this by almost hitting the ground running and knowing what a lot of the stuff means, even from memory obviously, but still that whole endgame advanced higher layer of tactics is something really easy to grasp, I feel, and this is where you can utilize those talents to the maximum. If you've not played any of this content, you're going to have such a great time. And the DLC, there's two chunks. There's War of the Chosen, which is just award-winning, absolutely massive, brilliant bit of further content for XCOM 2. And then there's that Shen's Gift, which has got a mech in it. You actually get to have a mech on your team. Wow, it's no Armored Core 6, but yeah, they're both available over on Steam for like £3.
Let's do this!
Is the first one worth visiting, or do you just go straight to the second? That one is a bit difficult. Die-hard fans will want to see the first one, I think, but the second one is a standalone sort of piece of kit. Bloody amazing. You won't get all confused with story and stuff, you'll just get right into it. And it's got, obviously, a lot higher graphical fidelity and slightly deeper meta mechanics. I have, of course, been Couch Coop, and I will put the next photo up pretty shortly. Not going to give you hints on it, but it will be something pretty cool from older areas of PlayStation 4 gaming. See you down there.